On the morning of August 2nd, 216 BC, 80,000 Roman soldiers marched across the plains of southern Italy. It was the largest army Rome had ever assembled. By sunset, more than 50,000 of them would be dead. This is the story of Cannae. The Second Punic War began in 218 BC, when Rome and Carthage clashed in a struggle that would span generations. As a boy, Hannibal swore eternal hatred of Rome. By his late 20s, he led Carthaginian forces in Spain. When Rome demanded his surrender, he invaded Italy with 50,000 infantry, 9,000 cavalry, and 37 elephants. Crossing the Alps cost nearly half his men, but he succeeded. In 2 years, Hannibal destroyed 3 Roman armies at Trebia and Lake Trasimene. Rome had never faced anything like him, and they prepared to respond with overwhelming force. In June of 216 BC, the Roman Senate argued over how to defeat Hannibal. An elder general named Fabius urged caution, avoid open battle, cut supplies, let time weaken the enemy. Others demanded action. One of them, the consul Gaius Terentius Varro, claimed Rome's defeats came from hesitation, not tactics. His argument prevailed. Rome raised 8 legions, 80,000 men. The plan was simple: find Hannibal, pin him in place, and crush him by sheer force. Command would alternate daily with his co-consul, Lucius Aemilius Paulus, who had doubts, but obeyed. On the evening of August 1st, Hannibal studied the ground near the town of Cannae. His army numbered about 50,000, outnumbered, undersupplied, deep in enemy territory. He relied on elite cavalry commanders, Maharbal leading the Numidians, Hasdrubal observing in a tent. Hannibal knew the Romans would attack the next day. It was Varro's turn to command, and Varro favored aggression. Hannibal proposed something unprecedented: allow the Roman center to advance, hold the wings, destroy their cavalry, then close the trap. Failure meant annihilation. Success would change warfare forever. That night, the Roman camp was loud. Soldiers drank and sang songs about victory. Officers promised plunder. Varro walked among his men, confident. Paulus prayed alone in his tent. In the Carthaginian camp, Hannibal moved quietly through his troops: Libyans, Spaniards, Gauls, Numidians. An army held together by one man's will. These men would stand in the center tomorrow. They would take the worst of the Roman assault. Neither army slept much. Dawn broke over flat ground as the Aufidus curved south, ideal terrain for Rome. Varro deployed 80,000 men in an unusual formation: narrow frontage, packed deep, hundreds of ranks, a human battering ram meant to punch straight through. Paulus objected. The men were too compressed to maneuver. Varro dismissed him. They didn't need flexibility, only momentum. Across the field, Hannibal arranged 50,000 in a shallow crescent. Gauls and Spaniards pushed forward in the center. African veterans held back on the wings. Cavalry split wide. It looked weak by design. By mid-morning, both armies stood ready. Varro gave the signal. 80,000 men began to move forward. The ground shook. The Roman formation hit the Carthaginian center like a wave hitting a wall. Shields crashed into shields. Spears found gaps in armor. Men in the front ranks died instantly. The Gauls fought hard, but the Roman weight was overwhelming. They began to give ground: 5 feet, 10 feet, 20. From above, it looked like the Roman center was winning. The Carthaginian line bent inward, forming a pocket, exactly as Hannibal planned. While the infantry clashed in the center, the cavalry fought on the flanks. On the Roman right, Hasdrubal's heavy cavalry smashed into the Roman horsemen. Brutal, close fighting. Within 15 minutes, the Roman cavalry broke and fled. Hasdrubal didn't pursue. He reformed his men. On the Roman left, Numidian light cavalry swarmed the allied Roman horse. They didn't fight head-on. They circled, threw javelins, retreated, attacked from another angle. The Roman cavalry lost cohesion, chasing phantoms. Then Hasdrubal made the critical move. He took his cavalry behind the entire Roman line and hit the allied cavalry from the rear. Caught between two forces, the Roman cavalry collapsed. In less than 30 minutes, Rome had lost all 6,000 horsemen. The infantry, locked in their deep formation, didn't even realize it. With the cavalry gone, Hannibal signaled his African veterans, 10,000 on each wing. They wheeled inward with perfect precision and struck both Roman flanks. The Romans in the outer ranks tried to turn and defend, but they were packed too tightly. Men couldn't raise their shields. Officers shouted contradictory orders. Varro, still near the front, finally understood what was happening. He asked for his cavalry. They were gone. From above, the battlefield now showed a Roman mass completely surrounded. Front, flanks, and rear. The trap was closed. Hasdrubal's cavalry reformed and charged the Roman rear. Men who moments before had been pushing forward now heard thunder from behind. They turned, a wall of horses bearing down. The rear ranks tried to form a defensive line, but they were exhausted infantry facing fresh cavalry. Consul Paulus was on foot. His horse had been killed. Blood streamed from a head wound. He fought beside common soldiers. A tribune suggested he escape while he could. Paulus refused. He died with his men. 80,000 Romans now stood on less than 1 square mile of ground, surrounded on all sides. The killing had just begun. What followed is hard to describe. Romans were crushed so tightly most couldn't raise weapons. Men in the middle could only wait as those on the edges were killed. The pocket shrank as outer ranks fell. August midday heat turned armor into ovens. Many died of heat as much as wounds. Some tried to surrender, unheard over the chaos. Modern estimates say 100 Romans died per minute for 3 hours. By late afternoon, 50 to 70,000 Romans were dead. Hannibal lost approximately 6,000. As the sun set, the battlefield fell silent. Bodies covered the ground completely. Hannibal stood watching. His cavalry commander Hannibal approached, excited. He wanted to ride to Rome immediately. The city was defenseless, reachable in 5 days. Hannibal refused. No siege equipment. His army needed rest. Rome could wait. Hannibal's famous reply, "You know how to win a battle, Hannibal. You don't know how to use the victory." Hannibal may have known he was right, but the decision was made. 3 days later, a messenger collapsed in the Senate. Cannae was lost. Paulus was dead. 50,000 gone. Silence followed. Then Fabius rose. He did not gloat. He said the war was not over. Hannibal had taken Rome's army, not its will. Emergency measures followed. Slaves were armed. 17-year-olds were conscripted. The wealthy gave fortunes. The Senate decreed no Roman would speak of peace while an enemy stood in Italy. Varro returned expecting death. Instead, he was thanked for not despairing. Within a month, Rome raised 4 new legions. After Cannae, several Italian cities defected to Hannibal. Capua, the second largest city in Italy, opened its gates to him. But Rome's core allies stayed loyal, and Carthage sent no reinforcements. For the next 15 years, Hannibal won battles, but couldn't end the war. Rome avoided major engagements. They cut his supply lines. They recaptured defected cities one by one. In 211 BC, Hannibal marched to the gates of Rome itself. He could see the walls, but Rome didn't panic. They didn't even recall the armies fighting in Spain. Hannibal turned away. He never came back. In 202 BC, Hannibal was recalled to defend Carthage. He faced the Roman general Scipio at Zama, a commander who had studied Hannibal's tactics and turned them against him. Carthage was defeated. The peace stripped it of its empire, destroyed its war elephants, and imposed crushing indemnities. Hannibal later served as a civil official, but when Rome demanded his arrest, he fled east. Hunted for years, he finally took poison from a ring in 183 BC. Carthage was destroyed in 146 BC. The Battle of Cannae is still studied in military academies, not because it can be repeated, but because it represents the dream of the perfect maneuver. More men died there in one day than at the Somme or D-Day. Hannibal proved genius can defeat numbers. Rome proved endurance can outlast genius. The battlefield at Cannae is quiet farmland now. A small monument marks the site. Nothing remains but memory. August 2nd, 216 BC, 50 to 70,000 Romans killed, 6,000 Carthaginians. Rome won the war. Hannibal never returned. Warfare changed forever.